Yeah, trick or treat, you little bastards! I know it was you threw the eggs in my Impala! I saw you do it right before I came out. Yeah, we'll see who's laughing in a little while. What's that? Maybe I am calling the cops. Just you wait. Hey, it's me. Call me back. I need a favor. Oh, I'll tell you one thing. Young people, they never change. This is where I part company with my aged brethren. My fellow retirees and I meet every morning, Monday through Saturday, for coffee at the Roy Rogers. And within the group, the majority opinion seems to be that young people today are worse than in years past. And the prevailing position among those who do not share this majority opinion is that, to the contrary, young people today are better than in years past. But I dissent from both of these opinions. I tell you, the young people today are no different than they have ever been. 52 years I've lived in this house. All that time, generation after generation of young people coming and going on this street. And the only change I've detected is in their preferred method of contacting their drug dealers. When I was a boy, you had payphones. You didn't want your parents finding out what you were up to, so you called your drug dealer on the payphone. Or you just went over to his house. He was always home. Buy a ticket you find it so interesting! Take a walk! 40 years ago, it was pagers. Everybody had pagers all of a sudden. 30 years ago, they came out with the flip phone. Everybody called their drug dealer with one of those. They still sell those down at the Walgreens. I think it's probably only the drug dealers who buy them anymore. Then they came out with this baby. My little Nokia. First and last cell phone I ever bought. A few years ago, the girl at the T-Mobile store tried to sell me a new one. Said this one wouldn't work anymore because they were sunsetting the network. I said, young lady, if anybody knows about sunsetting, it's me. And I'll be cold in a box in the ground before I give up my little Nokia! So a friend at Roy's introduced me to a very accommodating young man who swapped out the guts for something that'll work on the new network, so I get to keep using the cell phone. I said to the young man, it's like he gave my little Nokia a heart transplant. It was funny, but he didn't laugh. Who do you think you're eyeballing? Yeah, I see you. I see you! You should be home watching the World Series! That's why this country is in such a state, this dwindling respect for our glorious national pastime. Not that I can really blame the kids, much as I hate to admit it. They're no different, but the game certainly is. Where have all the great ball players gone? In my day, the Orioles had two of them named Robinson. Brooks Robinson and Frank Robinson. No relation to each other. And neither one related to the great Jackie Robinson, not even Frank, which some people assumed because they shared the same skin color. I had an acquaintance back then who would say, Frank Robinson is Jackie Robinson's younger brother. He said this every time Frank Robinson's name would come up in conversation, which was often back then because he was quite something. He came back and managed the Orioles a few years ago. Keep moving, you'll find no candy here, you little beggars! Can't a man sit on his front porch without being panhandled? Who are you staring at? I see you, and if I wake up tomorrow and find that tree festooned with bath tissue, I'll know from whose ass to take my pound of flesh, motherfucker! My doctor told me I need to calm down. But then 5 minutes later, he told me I need to get my heart rate up. Whose advice do I follow, my doctor's or my doctor's? Years ago, I had a friend, who was also my drug dealer at the time, who told me never seek advice and never follow advice when offered by others. I pointed out to him that telling me not to follow advice was itself advice, and by his own logic, I should not follow it, but he didn't really get it. His mind was gone by that point. Not from the drugs. He'd suffered a traumatic brain injury in a car accident after driving high on mushrooms. Where's my what? Where's my costume? I was gonna dress up as someone who cared about you, but I knew I could never pull it off. I dressed up for Halloween when I was a boy. When I was his age, you know who I was? Brooks Robinson. May he rest in peace. Greatest third baseman of all time. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. And not just because he was an Oriole, because it's a fact. Who else was ever on Brooksy's level at third? Mike Schmidt? Mike Shit! Wade Boggs, he had to switch teams and play for the Yankees to win a World Series. Brooks Robinson played his whole career for the Orioles and won 2 World Series and was the MVP of the 1970 World Series. Eddie Matthews? Eddie Matthews can suck my dick. Is your name Eddie Matthews? No? I wasn't talking to you, was I, you nosy little rat fuck? Suck whose dick? Your dick? That's entrapment! The young people haven't changed, but you know who has? The parents. When I was growing up, I knew I had to handle my own business. Instead of running home to tell my mother and father, because my mother and father weren't interested in my problems. They had their own problems to worry about. When my father went to prison, it took my mother 6 whole months to plan his escape, and I knew the more I interrupted, the longer it would take. But in the end, it paid off. My father was never recaptured and died a free man. Granted, he had to spend the rest of his life in West Virginia, but the flip side was he made a fortune there, since that state is about 75% smack addicts, and when he went to his beautiful reward, that money passed to my mother, who was able to live a life of ease until the FBI finally caught up with her. I had no children of my own. That's because of my mother, too, of course. I'll never forget her final words to me. She lay bleeding in my arms, the federal agents cautiously advancing, guns still drawn. Mother looked up at me and said, "Let it end with you." And it will. As soon as the FBI told me I was free to go, I drove straight from that Bob Evans to my urologist to get a vasectomy. I get a phone call from a pollster the other day. I get those a lot, probably because I'm the only one who's still got a phone that you don't carry around in your pocket with you. Not this one. The one in the house. This one, only a few people have the number. These pollsters, they were asking about the transgender children and the laws that pass in other states saying that the transgender children can't get the gender-affirming care, that's what they call it. And the teachers aren't allowed to call them by the names they say they want, to call them a girl if they say they're a girl or a boy or whatever. And at the end, after all the questions, the poster says, "We're also taking individual comments on this subject to use in our report. So would you have any advice for parents who are concerned about the transgender issue?" And I said yes. My advice to those parents is, don't have any more children. We got some of those people around here, twice a month. They have a Board of Education meeting. They televise it on Channel 99. Just recently I was watching it, and they had this young woman step up for the public comment portion, she said she was a mother of 2 students in the public school system. She was concerned about the possibility that a transgender child could tell their teacher that they were transgender, and the teacher would not be required by law to pass that along to the parents. This mother of 2 said that made her feel like the school system was saying parents can't be trusted to take care of their own children. Well, I don't know if that's what the school system is saying or not, but if they are saying it, they're right! Especially if it's a transgender child. Most of you can't manage not to fuck up your straight children! Who knows how badly you'll fuck up a transgender child with the misfortune to have sprung from your bigoted loins? Was it a premature birth? Because your intolerant uterus said a transgender child not in my house and kicked it out? They think they're protecting the children, but really they're stunting them. They're stunting their growth. See, a child is like a sapling. And if you crowd it too much, it'll never grow into a strong, beautiful tree. Children need room to grow. It's very important because children are our most precious resource. They should be treasured like no other. Show me that middle finger again and I'll bury you in the ground! Hello. Yeah, they egged the back window of the Impala. Teach them a lesson. Handle it however you want. Just don't hurt the kids. Thank you. Because I don't call cops, I hand out street justice!